Hi guys, how are you today? Welcome back to another episode on Saree Jitta Podcast. Okay, as usual, I'd like to open the interview with one of my favorite quotes. Forget about the fast lane. If you really want to fly, just harness your power to your passion. Oprah Winfrey. Today, guest, she's a business storyteller, caption, and content writer. A Malaysian maid who based in Cardiff with her loving husband. She's pursuing her passion via Bohem Notes with this vision to empower the sharing stories. Her successful blog, Bohemian Crossing, is about having a happiness lifestyle through a journey of personal growth and empowerment. The recent article series is titled Growing in Lockdown Real Stories by Real Women. It features 12 stories by 12 women around the world. The stories documented messages from women for women as we step into the new normal and beyond. I'm super excited, as you can see, can't speak right now, to meet our guest today. So let's welcome her in. Welcome, Nisha Harichandran. Welcome.
สวัสดีค่ะ ส
ส
วั
วั
ส
ส
ดี
ดี
ค่ะ
ค่ะ
สบายดีไหมคะ
สบายดีค่ะ I love it when you speak Thai. How are you today, girl?
I'm feeling fantastic, and Saree, is such an honor to be here today and on air with you and in a place of Thailand, a place that I'd spent 4 years of
Wow.
working. And what a beautiful way to celebrate the first business birthday of Bohem Notes. So
Oh,
thank you.
wow.
Thank you so
Yay.
much.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Normally before we start the interview, I'd like to have the guests just like give an intro about yourself, just to kind of, for some people that don't know you. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do now, and how did you get into this field?
So I'm a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. That's been my journey of personal growth.
Yeah.
That's been me with Bohemian Crossing, which led me to Bohem Notes because I'm meeting people, gaining new experiences daily, adventuring, and being a global citizen where you have your heart, your soul in every corner of the earth. So I'm a Malaysian by birth. I have Sri Lankan origins, but I consider myself a global citizen because that is home, the connections that you make with people.
Yeah.
And I realize with each connection, a beautiful story is born because there's so much, even us, Saree, just the way we connected on Instagram and exchanging messages with each other leading up to this podcast, that leads to a story. And I love talking. I enjoy that narration, the adventure, the curiosity. And I pursued law, and that's where I spent 15 years in terms of my professional career. And writing, words, language was such an integral part of it, and also observation, analyzing, just the power of perception, noticing things. But deep down within me, I always wanted to write like stories or just blogs and articles and things. I think I really found that passion in that. So the move to Cardiff in 2020 was a fresh start, like a page. And I love the quote that you opened today's session with. Could you just read that again, please? Because it
Yeah.
was just so beautiful.
Yeah, I like that too. Forget about the fast lane. If you really want to fly, just like a butterfly, just harness your power to your passion.
And that's what happened. I came back and I was like, okay, I was turning 40 last year. And it was, right, how long are you going to carry this dream in your heart that you want to be a writer, that you want to share, you want to empower people to share their stories? So that's literally what happened. And I took the whole 2020 to kind of see if this was taking place, whether
Yeah.
there was actual passion in it.
Yes.
And there was, and Bohem Notes was born.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. That's good. All right. I'm gonna dive in our first question now. Okay. Because I mentioned that we are going to talk about growing in the lockdown. Are you guys still in lockdown though in the UK? Are you still, yeah?
Some form of lockdown. It's some form here and there. I think it's all left
Mm.
to self-regulation for most part of it. So in a way we are.
Okay, all right. So I will I want to ask you this. What were you struggling the most in the lockdown and how did you overcome it?
It felt like my wings had been clipped. I am a free spirit, and that's where the Bohemian name comes from, to honor that free spirit, that openness. And suddenly, when it was locked down,
Yeah.
it literally felt being locked, being under some kind of a curfew. I'm so used to just packing things in a travel bag and, just heading off, or even exploring the next street is a sense of adventure because each time you notice something new. I remember living in Thailand. I was at Soy 18, Sukhumvit.
Oh,
And each time I passed the street, something new would have happened. If I don't go down a couple of months or days or something like that, a new a food stall would have opened and things like that, or even crossing down to another soy and the world changes. So somebody who has kind of just enjoyed doing that, exploring, seeing things, and to say that you're being locked really felt my wings were clipped.
mm,
And that maybe kind of pushed me a little bit to say, where can you find this purpose? What can you do? And I was like, I'm going to do my business, because if I don't, I'm going to feel even more locked. Like I'm not honoring this voice
yeah.
that is coming inside, this passion, this purpose. And the moment I set my heart on it, like an intention, it was like, okay, I turned it into an opportunity of sort to be
Yeah.
really curious and learn, because being an entrepreneur, sorry, you would know this really well. You juggle so many hats, and I didn't have the experience. So it was a lot of learning, and that kept me quite busy. So
Mm,
that's how I stayed focused,
yeah.
some sort of perseverance, in a way bullish, because I knew my wings were being clipped and I didn't like feeling that way. So
Yeah.
that restlessness turned into inspiration
Mm.
and pushed me to move forward. So that's how I would describe turning sort of a difficult situation
Yeah.
into something that has given me back my wings.
Oh, that's nice. I think we all can relate to that, because I think most of us probably, like half of our life we just, like busy all the time and we just, do this and do that. And like we have to always go out and then just, like one day out of nowhere, everywhere is shut. You can't go anywhere. You can't really do anything. And for some people, if you just have them stay in the small room and like they just so used to kind of like with the external world go out and do things, and now they just have to just it's just kind of hard, isn't it, especially if you have to kind of live with the mental and your thoughts just like can drive you crazy.
Exactly, because this radio doesn't stop. This radio inside doesn't stop. So the
Yeah.
more you listen to it, you start being so observant
Hmm.
on what is it you're saying yourself. You also become that much more observant, patient with yourself,
Yeah.
kinder with yourself
Yeah.
and with things. Like I used to be running around with a to-do list. And after a while, it was like, it really doesn't matter if I do
Yeah.
this now or
Yeah.
5 minutes later or, a week later, to just take that moment to pause and be
Yeah.
still. And there's just so much that happens in that pause as well.
Yeah. I think, like a lot of people, how do I say, it's kind of like awaken now because of, now that it's kind of like it forces them to just, okay, if there's really nothing for me, I can't really go out, I'm just going to have to kind of, instead of going outside, I have to kind of like turn inwards. And I think that's when they kind of, realize what they really like doing and just, like this small thing that they really want.
And
Yeah.
that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
The moment you start shifting inwards,
Yes.
listening to your body, to your heart, to every cell that's going on, that's really when the shift happens. And so many people would have grown in such extraordinary ways during this whole period of lockdown. I think it was a necessary thing that maybe needed to happen
Yes.
to push us to a point that we had no other choice but to turn inside and see what
Definitely.
changes we could do for ourselves. And ultimately, it benefits the rest of the community.
Yeah. So, Nisha, tell me, what was the biggest lesson that you've learned in the lockdown?
To keep tuning in, to listen to the voice of my soul. And I call it soul searching, because literally it's just like, okay, what is it we want? Where do we want to go? What do I want to do? What really is my purpose? Am I living a life just on automation? A sense of programming. You get up, you go, like, so mindlessly just running around chasing all these noises.
Yes.
Or do I just wake up feeling like, yeah, it's a great day, this is
Yeah.
what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And it's like a switch turned on somewhere. And like you said, that whole awakening
Yes.
happens. So
Yeah.
keep connecting back. At times I digress, I slip back into old patterns. And then I like, okay, the moment I recognize that happening, I kind of stop and go like, okay, what did we learn? We learn to always come back to kind of just
Yeah.
honor yourself, your
Yeah.
spirit, and that purpose. So that's one of the biggest lessons. And I really, really invite everybody to just take that moment whenever you can to just keep
Yeah.
searching your soul.
Yeah.
Because it changes, it really changes.
It
What
does.
we wanted, what we desired in the 20s, in my 30s, and now in my 40s, it's so different. Or even every day to start with. Let's go with that. But keep coming back within. And
Yeah.
we learn so much every day, and all of that gets into our growth. So
Yes.
just tuning back inside, it's one of my biggest lessons that I'm honoring
Yeah.
to the best of my ability as often as I can.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest lesson I've learned, like from this pandemic and from the lockdown, it would be um like I just realized that, like all that I'm chasing is not really, the money. It's just like this happiness, this joy. Like now I get to spend more time with my mom. And it's nice, it's just like when you wake up in the morning and it's just, like even just the smell of the coffee, I have more time now to just meditate and journaling. And it just, find out, oh, this is nice, because normally I would just wake up early in the morning. I was just rushing to work, and then by the time I come back, it's nighttime already. I barely have time to talk to her. And, like since now that, in the lockdown, I'm just gonna share this little story with you because, like
Yes,
normally
please.
I don't know that, like every morning mom has to take medicine, but I don't know that because, like by the time I'm up, like I'm just gone out to work. But now I get to see how much medicine she take, and I was like, oh, I never know that, and I was like, okay. So I'm just kind of like, it's made me, want to take good care of her, and just kind of, because I never see this little thing. It's not that I don't care, but because of, I guess, I was just kind of, asleep or something. You know what I mean? So that's probably one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. Now, can you tell us if you have any tips to keep sane and stay healthy? Some people who still in the lockdown, do you have, I don't know, any rituals or anything? If you like this episode, I'm sure you like some more inspiration, motivation, and empowered messages in my Superwoman private Facebook group. It's a community of like-minded women who share their stories, struggles, and wins so that we can help each other. If you're going through some difficult time right now, I want you to know that you're not alone. Come join us and be a part in our tribe. I'm going to leave the link in the below. Now, let's get back to the episode. You do?
Yes, so the first one is, as we shared, keep connecting back to who you are, to who you really, really are. And one of the best ways to do that is the way you introduce yourself. Like, what all are you? You're not just Nisha, a daughter, a wife, a Malaysian, a writer. I'm so much more than that. And one of my tips is to kind of like assign little adjectives to each letter of your name. So what does the N mean? What does the I? What is the S? The H and the A? And the moment you play with that, you feel like, wow, I'm natural, I'm inspiring, I'm soulful, because that's where the words are coming from my heart. I make home, or, I'm happy, which is a state, because, that state that I want to be in, that sense of joy. And that adventure, that what life holds for me every day. So knowing that my name is not just Nisha, but it's, wow, it really takes on this whole umbrella. And I can keep shifting, and doesn't have to be natural, it can be new. So I constantly reinvent myself on a daily basis, and I can be ideas. So I'm like, yeah, I'm creative, I'm abundant. It keeps coming to me. So just having these things with you on your fingertips, it's such a nice way to know that you can evolve and you can push. But the message starts with you. So keep connecting back with yourself. Second one I really want to share with everybody, which is also one of my biggest takeaways with lockdown and even just life and how things matter, is to be fluid, to flow. We want things to happen in a certain way. And when it doesn't, we hit a roadblock. Either we, stop and cry and, scream or anything like that, or we just bury ourselves. Sometimes we push through, but there's parts around it. There are little cracks that you can seep through. There are other streams and opportunities that open up. And most times, the only way you thought is not really the only way. There are other more effective ways of doing it. It maybe takes you on an unexpected detour that is even more magnificent, something that you hadn't anticipated at all, the connections that you have. And fluidity is also makes you less rigid. You're more open to ideas, and it gives you a sense of strength. And fluidity is also capital, to know that you must have the sense of capital with you, not just, a fixed amount that enables you to do certain things, but you need to constantly look at that as a flowing thing. So money is good because it does enable you to do certain things. It's just, what is that purpose that we are kind of associating with the money? It's not something that just drives me to do this, but it's so much more. And fluidity in thinking, in plans. So just flowing. There's so much growth that happens in that. And I designed this for myself, and I've also shared it on my blog because I found it extremely helpful. It's something I call Flow in 5. So taking 5 minutes of your day or breaking down a thought to 5 points, and just making it into little manageable, actionable items so that it doesn't seem so overwhelming, but you can do it. And I've started it with soul searching. So connecting back with your purpose, ideas, how you prioritize, and how you care for yourself and for work. It's slightly more business related because it was created for Bohem Notes and just penciling down where I wanted to go. But you could take that inspiration and apply it in any other space in your life.
I like that. I like that. So just to recap, what you said, I think what I've learned from this, I think you gave us like two tips, right? So number one is to connect with yourself. So the easiest way would be, and I really like that. So after this, I'm going to try to write down Saree, and then I'm just going to. I think it's
Let me know what comes up.
I will. I think it's fun, and just to kind of, it's very creative, just to kind of because like in a way you kind of connect with yourself when you come up with all these. And the second one, I think we talk about like kind of like get in the flow, like fluidity, because like for example, I think if we are not into the lockdown, I think we probably like we can't come up with all these ideas and about ourselves. It's just a kind of like when things don't go the way we expected. I know at first it feels kind of like sad, but if you can kind of don't get like obsessed too much about what happened, maybe you can shift your perspective and see, because if this happened, this door closed, another door is open. So
Yes.
yeah. I
We're
like
so
that.
fixed looking at that shut door.
Yes,
We
yes.
spend hours, months, years even just looking at that shut door, and time has passed. Time's not waiting for you.
Yeah.
Time has really moved on. And by the time you realize, you're like, oh my God, there was everything else. There was an entire garden for me to go and play around. But I was just so upset looking at the shut door. And
Yeah.
absolutely right, Saree. I think lockdown in many ways has really inspired us to just shift in the way we think, because there was no other way but to change. And
Yeah.
if you remained rigid, you couldn't flow. You couldn't, get through this pretty difficult period.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what was the inspiration behind the 12 stories by 12 women growing in the lockdown? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's a project so close to my heart. And lockdown was something that affected us all globally. It wasn't just in Malaysia or UK. It was everybody was experiencing lockdown. And so much was happening in that period, as we spoke about. But at the same time, when there was any news of, certain lifting of restrictions, you could see people just rushing out and trying to play catch up. We lost X number of months. We need to catch up and maybe overdo a little bit. And I didn't want this growth to just get lost in what was coming out. I wanted a place we could always turn back, tune into, and see what have we learned so far? How can we take this forward as we go into the new normal? And that inspired this. So we picked 12 for your 12 months in your year, and also 12 hours on the clock face. So anytime there is a story. And I prepared the same set of questions for all 12 people. And 12 amazing different perspectives came about. So that in itself shows you how each person interprets what has happened to them, the growth that they had, and the self-talk that they revisited to themselves and how they told themselves they're going to take it forward. And it's real stories because they are from real women and they're real reflections that all of us can just tap into anytime and continue to draw on that strength to take us forward. So that was the whole inspiration for lockdown. And the photographs were all taken remotely. So we had visual storytelling as well to
Yes.
amplify. And my brother, who is a portrait and lifestyle photographer, so he helped with the photographs. So just the power of words and visuals to
Yes.
amplify this and also show the growth. So that was the inspiration for growing in lockdown.
Okay. All right. This is not really in my list, but I'm gonna put it on you. Can you just give us maybe like one story, just a short story that so that maybe one of the story can inspire other women as well from those 12 story. Can you pick one and then share with us?
Yes, so I'll tell you the story of Kun Anjali, who is also based in Bangkok.
Yes.
And she spoke about the power of being present, of being in the now. And despite her many roles, the fact that she just comes back to truly living this lifestyle of a yogi in the now, in really appreciating each moment and what happens. I want to share with you another story as well of Kun Lily in Mexico. She's somebody whom I met during my travel. She's culinary school teacher. And she just said, you know what, come what may, I'm not giving up on you. That was the self-talk she kept telling herself. She recognized the fears. So she calls her inner child Lily Girl. And she says that I tell Lily Girl, I got you. I'm not letting this come your way, and I am going to fight. I am going to move forward. There were times she just let down. She said, okay, I need a break from all of this, but also giving yourself that permission to say you don't need to be on that treadmill running about the whole time, to be more compassionate with yourself. And there's so many stories,
Yes.
Saree, because each one is just so beautiful. And there's Yakini, who has ADHD. I know you told me one, but I just have to
That's okay.
share with you. And she discovered that she had ADHD during the whole lockdown period. And she has 2 kids with this attention deficit hyperactive disorder. And having structure is so important. And talk about structure and lockdown coming together in the same sentence. So in her story, she says how she looked at everything with love, to address difficult issues and situations with love, and to truly know how flexible you can become in all of that. So please visit the stories at Bohemian Crossing blog, Growing in Lockdown, because there is something we can all connect with and learn.
Yeah, no, this is very touching. Just, like a little bit that you give me, I feel like this is exactly what I needed to hear today. And I believe that, other women might want to hear this as well. So, Nisha, before we wrap up today, do you have any last message for our audiences?
Yes, I thought about this, and the messages kept shifting, but what I want to say is flow. Really flow, because there's so much growth that we can achieve the moment we start flowing, and keep coming back to your purpose, to who you are, so that way you stay authentic in whatever it is that you do, but you're also flowing and growing.
I like that. Okay, Nisha, I want to acknowledge you.
Kapunka, mak, mak.
I want to acknowledge you for being here with us today. Like sometimes when we go through difficult times, it's good to know that we are not alone. And there are some other girls who might go through the same thing or even worse than us. And I believe that when we hit that rock bottom, you really can, shift your perspective. That's when you learn and grow the most. So from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you so much, girl. ค่ะ
Kapunka. I've really enjoyed being here today, Saree, and thank you so much. If I could just take 10 seconds just to pick up on what you said earlier.
Sure.
Knowing that change is going to happen, let's not wait till we hit rock bottom before we make that change in our life. So coming back to your purpose, coming back to who you are, that sense of flow enables you to already pick up the moment you sense that, okay, this is not the path I want to get to. But thank you so much, Saree, and thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and being with us today.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here with us today. If you want to know more about Nisha's work, I'm going to leave her link in the description box. And if you like this episode, give it a thumbs up, share with your friends or your loved ones. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And let's see who's going to be my guest next time. Until then, take care.